Hello and welcome to another gameplay review on the Virkayu gameplay channel. And in this one we have Warwick with the most schizophrenic build I've ever seen in my life. And I don't really like to go it myself, but it can work, it does work, and I'm going to show you how. In a Grandmaster game, no less, with 20 plus kills and 0 deaths. Jungle perfection. And no, it's not your imagination, the camera has changed. Your bot lane, you wanted to leave base, thank you very much. New camera. New lighting, new angles. Testing it out for the first time on this, so, I'll refine that. It's for the third channel, but, more on that soon. You can join the Discord for those announcements. Runes on your screen now. Standard stuff. Stuff I like to run personally, except for the Relentless Ultimate. I kind of flex that. Depending on team comp and tone, I love Ultimate and Hunter and using my Ultimate against a Kha'Zix in particular. So, huge value there. Everything good? Everything's good. So, we have here a Soraka Draven. Soraka is going alpha mode. We of course love it when she goes alpha mode. Here an early ward to go base just in case of some invading on the red. But otherwise, normal stuff. We're going to go on a late invade. Now, with the new Rengar rework coming, you're going to see a lot of Rengars next week with those buffs. And I'll do a video on it 100%. Rengar likes late invades. So with the increase in Rengars and people kind of watching random guides to see how they do those things, keep that in mind. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this personally, and on my main channel, again, this is really weird, but it always works out. On the main channel, I just released a low elo specific coaching summary, essentially, where the enemy jungle does steal red. And I discuss how that compromises his game personally. In high elo, significantly less so, because people play around lanes better, they play around everything better. I gotta stop looking at the webcam. And I feel like you delay level 3 spikes, level 4 spikes, tempo matching spikes, and yeah, sure, the Kha'Zix basically now can say, look, I can try this if I have any idea that he's done that, but it's a Zillion who can turbo sprint over. Fidget Spinner RNG crit Victor is here, so he can just run over. If there's late wards that the Kha'Zix hasn't tracked, then you can't really solve it. You just basically have to say, I lost my red, c'est la vie. That sucks. And Canyon had this as a Z on this channel, and he essentially just said, oh well, and he just ganked bot lane. So here we go. Warwick presses W, obviously from the river to make sure we have maximum approach. This is very, very well played. We do not get the fear or an assist on the ADC, but we're able to get something on the support, so that's great. For that amount of investment, you definitely want to get something. The Kha'Zix has not vertical jungled. We know this now, right? So you see this, you see Kha'Zix 16 TS, no red buff, he's done his blue quadrant into the Raptor pit, and now he's going to flex on down to the Krugs. He's not going to most likely coin flip this Scuttle, just purely because of the bot lane proximity. So, from Warwick's perspective, a very good play. Red steal, into blue, into Grump, buff Grump, deny the enemy jungle, gank the bot lane, perfect. What you don't want to do in those situations is carry on your business, essentially becoming like a 5 camp clearer as Warwick. Don't do that. Now, something I want to address as he carries on here, I don't know where it came from, but people are talking about this Tiamat tax for some reason, and why they don't build it in these builds, and I think it's completely the wrong way of thinking about it, because like in the Kale jungle video, right, it's not a tax, it's an investment. You're basically saying, look, I'm going to go out of pocket now, but the returns, the returns. And if you don't have that as Warwick, you're definitely slow in the AoE camps, you're definitely slower clearing in general, and I still think even though the active is gone, and rest in peace, Solidarity, Rengar and Warwick mains, we're all on the same page here with this removal of the Tiamat active, but it's still good. It still helps you farm faster, which means you can sequence quicker, which means you can rotate quicker after sequencing, which means you can clear up your sequencing after plays are made. So Kha'Zix kind of calls the bluff here and decides, hey, you know what, I'm going to go in. But the problem with Kha'Zix doing this, as you can see, is it's a Warwick. And as all of you know, we like matching up with Kha'Zix because we beat Kha'Zix 1v1, we have our E and we have our healing. Also, you don't have lane prior, guy. So what exactly are you doing here? I can't hear any volume's going to turn up on my side. It's stupid invade, but in high elo, they're making this play. So in low elo, mid elo, they're making worse plays. And that was a pretty damn bad play, but they will make those plays, and it's just on you to mechanically play those moments, and that's something that's very, very important. You just have to mechanically play those moments. Now, we go here for pickaxe into boots. Typically, we would obviously go Tiamat, and I still think even with this build, and I've seen a lot of variations with these builds, Chem Tank Blade, obviously, I've seen Chem Tank Blade Tiamat into tank, great gank, obviously, gank first, camps later. Gank first, reward yourself with camps, okay? This is the main course. You are not Karthus, you are not Diana, you're not AFK farming. Get your main meal, get your proteins and your core nutrients, macro and micronutrients, of course. Make sure your fiber intake is good, and then you can have yourself some sweets. Now, we have your Karma versus Zillion in mid lane, so basically support mid lane gaming. Great ward here. Kha'Zix stops, I guess. Bad pathing, not paying attention. We see here a 2v2 developing. We're priming our E way too soon. You do not want to prime your E that soon. I know it's a deterrent, but at the same time, I kind of want him to go for it, because there's no way a Kha'Zix beats us. I mean, he does have obviously serrated Dirk, but we have pickaxe. And that's what we want. That's what we want. Now, Trinity uses his pride to ward this and hit this, so it's Kha'Zix in the situation. He's a victim of this late invade, but could he have played it better? Yes. Could he have not killed himself from Krugs? Yes. There's a lot of things he could have done, but that's more for a coaching session, and all those coaching session VODs are on Patreon, including Kha'Zix one recently. So I try to give you as much diversity as I can everywhere on these channels. We fall back down afterwards, obviously into Grump, into Wolves, and now you see that's where the Tiamat here, we're out of here faster. We're into the Raptors faster. All of this is very, very good. Kha'Zix uses the fact that they have to reset, and of course that he has bot lane on the map to sneak the dragon. Very well played. Good objective secure. Q hits, slow hits, speed up activation. Kha'Zix is now shadowing. Obviously Thresh has no flash from that early gank. The bomb doesn't... It almost hit. Obviously you want to avoid the lantern there, but obviously you want to avoid the lantern. Very well done, good fear. Karma has no flash. Pay attention to this using F keys. You don't see that in these reviews, but they make these plays because they know there's no flashes. They're either pinged off in the chat, or they're just using their keys to look around and keep note, you know? We get hit by a Vision Scryer's Bloom, so we know that we have been spotted. This one gets hit on the top side, which is obviously going to be, in this case, we spoil it, but it's a Yorick hitting it. And obviously, if you see two bot and you get hit by it, you know that it's a Kha'Zix hitting you. So you don't know that the top one is hit, obviously, because we don't get detected on it, but people freak out a lot in coaching. There'll be the Warwick here. They'll get detected on the Scryer's Bloom, and then they think it's, you know, the Thresh, and there's two people bot lane. It's not the Thresh, it's the jungler. So you know where the jungler is, you know what he's been doing, you know he's done the dragon, so where's he going to go next? Most likely, we anticipate going to the top side, unless he predicts the Kha'Zix, the Warwick to come down, and he wants to counter gank it. So this is why the Warwick is really keeping it pretty cautious, because it's warded. So we do have 6. Remember to time the lantern. Oh, that is a mistake. Nice Q through E combo. Ult to gap close it. Beautifully done. Flash is burned once more. That's all we're looking to do. We see here, excuse me, didn't mean to pause it. Yeah. Tryndamere is being nerfed next week. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but let's find out. That champion. Obviously, Yorick is something you don't really see a lot. You could snack these, but again, like, you don't have Tiamat now. So this is not something you can snack easily and get out, which again, like, that's my point. It's an investment there, and it still gives you huge value because you need a pickaxe to go into it. So there's not much loss here, and the boots are great, but could we have made all of these plays without the boots? Yes. Yes, without a doubt. Especially if you're running Relentless Hunter, maybe. If you're someone that prefers that out of combat movement speed around the map. So here we've got how much in pocket here? 2 grand almost. We see the Yorick move on down. He's kind of suspecting that Kha'Zix will reset. Kha'Zix is going to go there. Jinx is now lane swapped, obviously, because she cannot go into that lane if Thresh is not present. And so a little bit of micro-trolling here from the ADC, and I hope she doesn't continue to do this because... Okay, I did actually check, and even though that was a really griefing play, she does the most damage on the blue team. So I just wanted to make sure that she still does things in this game, and she does. So don't worry about that. It's a bad play from her perspective, but at the same time, if it was the Yorick, he's dying anyway. And she cannot go here as long as Thresh is out of the picture because it's being zoned. Their bot lane needs help. And that's the thing. A Draven Soraka lane that's this far ahead will be able to do things. Kha'Zix is going to ult. Karma shows up as well. Ult from Soraka. Gives the kill over to the Draven. I think he would have got it anyway. She tried to save herself selfishly. Jinx ults for cinematic value. And Warwick now is rotating over. Yeah, we watch this. At some point, you're going to need a base to spend cash monies. So I'm not always a fan of staying out this long at all. I think we could have definitely just done that and made sure to secure it as well. I mean, if he gets something here, it looks like he does. It is a little bit results based, so don't necessarily go from bot to top without taking cams. Get a kill from an unfortunate situation, then rotate and do the same thing. It's not worth the total time investment in terms of, you know, just keeping your lead. So yeah, it works out. That's great. Nice rotation. We see this fight, obviously. But usually I'm a bit more like, I could counter jungle, I could take this, we could dive this, we could dive this. I guess in a more normal game, that would be what you want to do. But yeah, have fun too. If people, you know, if you're really that fed as Warwick, you can do that. So just keep these things in mind. There's pros and cons to what he did, to what I'm suggesting. And now, of course, we have finished Blade of the Rune King. It's a good item. It is getting nerfed in the lifesteal patch, in the lifesteal patch index. It's going back from 10 to 8%. So that lifesteal will not exist as much, but obviously that's not the sole reason we buy it. Warwick, does very well with all of these stats, really. But I'm still not a fan of compromising our Tiamat gains in this particular situation. Now we've got an absolute goon squad in the top lane here, so Trinity will fall for the 3-man gank. And now we want to counter jungle, but there's nothing to counter jungle. But there's a Jinx in the bottom lane. You are an assassino, okay? Remember that. As Warwick with these damage builds, whether you're building a Blade of the Rune King, kind of Divine Sunder, Titanic Hydra build, or whatever. Nice back, by the way. You're an assassin, essentially. Like, you're not literally an assassin, but you can take out a priority target. That's your goal. And a beautiful emote game. Beautiful emote game. When I'm playing Warwick and I'm playing the Kraken Slayer build, for example, which I still like running, actually, that's my goal. I just make sure that the squishies die and that their priority targets don't get to play the game. And that's all we want to look for here. Now, the Draven and the Soraka have now moved to the mid lane, and here we go. You see, that's why the people who stick with these videos will always benefit greatly. Now, Soraka is ulting again, obviously. Now, Warwick does the dragon, ults up again because Ultimate Hunter turns into it. The heals are insane. Well done, Soraka. Well done, Soraka. Great rotation from the Warwick if you were watching the map there. Bad awareness by the blue team again. Jinx is kind of in an unfortunate situation, but she's going to try him because Jinx is so... Reset. There you go. GG. One more. Nope. Zillion ult. Close, though. Warwick is playing a hell of a game. You see, this is very important. Even though you're a fed chimera, bat wolf dog thing, you're still looking to make sure that while you can assassinate someone, still peel when necessary, still use your CC as a disengage as necessary. It's not all fun just running it down like a Rengo would. Good team fighting from Warwick will carry you through a lot of elos. So the chem tank aspect, I think if you're going to run the chem tank aspect, we've spoken about a few things. I didn't even speak about the chem tank yet. Obviously great for engages, obviously great for rotational ability, synergizes perfectly with Warwick, it's a good item overall. The Zhonya's that he's going to go is something I actually kind of like. It's the volleyball logic, right? We scale with AP. It's really, really useful against comps like this, where if you're mispositioned, you can avoid a random death. And obviously when you come out of the Zhonya's, you've got your E, you've got your Q, you've got your auto attacks to heal. Stasis. It literally pauses for your cooldowns so that you can keep on living. And with Blade of the Rune King and Chem Tank, you rotate and you survive. It's nice. So I still think you could probably look for Bombies earlier just for your clears. But if you're going to play this kind of game where you're really not focused on farming, as you can see, he is not. We primed our E, we use it. It doesn't really give too... Okay, there we go. It does actually give a lot of value. Nice fear usage, obviously, but it doesn't really give us damage reduction usage, but it doesn't matter because we have lifesteal. There's nothing they can do with Blade of the Rune King Warwick when you're fed. End of story. Is too strong. Is too strong. Hello. And yeah, but now you're squishy. Now you're squishy. Now you're squishy. Actually, you know what? You know what? I said that. But at the same time, the Kazakhs almost turned it. Now that's because Kazakhs is a very strong champion. Obviously, we know this. That was... I haven't seen that interaction too much. We had to be cautious there. It wasn't as free as it should have been. And I honestly believe, with all of my soul, that if you were building a more classical item, some kind of replay freeze, you could probably just melt him. Titanic plus Kraken melts a Kha'Zix. Sunfire plus Titanic melts a Kha'Zix. It just does. And it gives you a lot more survivability in those situations. But so does this one, obviously, but you lack resistance and HP. Now, the game has stalled out a little bit. Kha'Zix gets some cash monies here. Trinities are rotated to the bottom side, obviously. And we are falling back to our red. We see the Kha'Zix go across this. We should be prepared to rotate as necessary, but we do kind of want 11 before we use ult again, but I don't think we're going to get that luxury. I do not think we'll get that luxury. Let's see. We're watching. Got his red. 6 on the W. We want to use it to probe, see where the Kha'Zix is. We do so. Nice flank. There he goes on the back line. Back line dive from the Warwick. We missed the R. Doesn't matter. We get the fear. That's exactly what we want to do. Kha'Zix is now mispositioned. He uses Prowler's Call, still dies. We do lose the Soraka. Now Draven gets hooked in, which is not very good. Jinx is now really, really excited. And we do want to be careful here. Nope, she's gonna die. Good night. E for damage reduction, thank you very much. Good emote game again. Nice emote game. So, when you ult and you miss your E, doesn't matter. I'm sorry, when you ult and you miss your suppression but you hit your E, that's typical Warwick things. We all know how that goes, don't we? Not on purpose, you know, but it happens. Here, definitely, I like catching these waves and pushing them out as soon as possible, especially when multiple people are dead and no one's really rotating up and they've got pressure here. However, don't overstay it. So if you did it immediately, he'd already be gone. If you do need an item completion, what are we at, 220? You can always fall back or so on, but I think this is good. What I like to do here is as soon as this is done, push. I'll leave a ward, but more here because I want to see if they're going to go to the Herald. And then you can hippity-hoppy this plant to remove some ability, and then you can go back to base. Same kind of thing, just slightly different execution. But you see, the thing is, being this fed kind of covers up a lot of holes. In close games, I'm not a fan of this build nearly as much. I do think a bit more of a default build gives you a lot more. Just play around with it, definitely. It's fun. I have done it, but you gotta learn a little bit about how to play around the squishiness of Blade of the Rune King early. Because basically every Warwick build we have includes some kind of HP typically. You know, some kind of HP. If you rush Titanic. If you're rushing Kraken, I guess you know what I mean, but squishy Warwick is a different ballgame. Tank item, I've seen this tank item on, see now I'm thinking out loud. We've seen it in Diana. Seen it on Shaco lately, this combination on Shaco. And that brings to mind a very important discussion about 2 item spikes for junglers. You know, you're looking at a Blade of the Rune King and Chem Tank. And if you're looking at Frozen Heart and Winter's Approach, or Fimbulwinter, there you go. It's what we like. I like those 2 items combined. Whoa! Max range, baby. Herald is dead. I mean, you can ping it all you like. It's up again in like 50 seconds, man. Don't go back to base. Why would you go back to base here? It's so random. Kha'Zix now does go to the bottom lane and kill the Zillion who's over pushing. Jinx does get a kill on the Tryndamere. And all of a sudden, things have changed. Nothing you can do. And now with Bombi Cinder, obviously this makes it a lot quicker. Nice. Juicy. See, I mean, that's the thing, right? The Chem Tank speeds that up as well. The Bombi Cinder does help with that as well. That's why I kind of like it. But you don't want to... If you can get a Blade of the Rune King early, it's very, very strong. The Zhonya's is the more freaky thing here. I think the builds I've seen around this that I prefer for most of you, if you want to try this build, I still prefer the Titanic Blade, and then you can do your Chem Tank, and then you've got, you know, those 2.5 item spikes into a Titanic full. So those are your 3 items. That's very, very strong also. I mean, really, it's how you like to play and what you feel the spikes are like with your playstyle. You know, it's not like a cut and dry thing. That's why I'm just kind of floating ideas in this video. We do get to tech the tier where you want to be careful. The hook misses somehow. Tryndamere is now taking our Grump. We press W to make sure we can scout anybody. We see them. Yorick undeads the bottom lane tower, I guess. Random kitty wall. Not going to do anything again. Priming our E way too soon. Not a huge fan of that. Happened multiple times. Draven goes top lane. He is able to kill Karma, but again, he dies. So we're just giving stuff back. We do have ult here. Both. Can Q through E as necessary because he has flash. Doesn't matter. Don't want to Q through E too soon, right? Don't use your E too soon, specifically with the Thresh, because you know that lantern is coming, you know the flash is coming. Wait for your suppression to end, keep your Q ready to go, and then make sure you just kind of hit that together so that he dies in that duration and he doesn't escape. Always what we're trying to accomplish. Soraka catching the wave, how nice. Thank you very much. What is she? Goat Unicorn? Goat-a-corn? Tryndamere. Selfish. Always. Always has been. Always will be. Always will have been. Tryndamere players. Resource heavy. Absolute donkeys. Could take the wolves before we head to the Baron. 20 Baron I kind of like. You can solo it with this. You can solo with a lot of things. I guess he was expecting... He's doing his LeBron James impression there when he presses the E. I guess you could just start it up and do it. Fun fact. Is it fun? I guess it's fun. In Season 7, when the Warwick reroll came out, obviously I started spamming it as soon as it did. I loved it. And was one of the first few people to make like in-depth guides over it and gameplays. And obviously that cinematic montage. And I actually played with a Tryndamere play for a little bit. And the win condition was couple plays around top side, get myself fed around the map as necessary, make sure the enemy jungler doesn't get to play the game, and then we would just two-man Baron every single game. It was such a free strategy. Nice ult over the wall. There we go. Oh, okay, there we go. Again, Jinx, we do a flash E, though it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Jinx. So many nice things to say about Jinx from Arcane. I want to stay monetized. Riot. Look, man. I defend Riot a lot. Because they're a company, they're people, you know, it's just a game. But in the end, it's my livelihood, it's many people's livelihood, it's their livelihood. And the lack of support on patches this year has been catastrophically terrible. Now, of course, our bot lane over pushes here with the Baron, so we have to rotate to help. Don't split push the mid lane. You could split push the mid lane, but we don't have Soraka. Jinx is going to be up as well. So the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a situation where Jinx gets like a triple kill, pentakill here. You guys waste the Baron. Obviously, we have here the Thresh top lane doing that exact same thing. So as soon as we see that, we can push this wave as well. Tryndamere does kill Jinx, but wait. Too much happening. So once you see the two top lane, we can commit here because that's a 3v3, but we are low. And if Zilean doesn't have his flash, then what's about to happen will happen. There we go. Nicely done. Man, diseased. I mean, at the same time, like, it's your own fault. Could he have exhausted and flashed in time? With good mechanics, maybe. But now you definitely want to pull back, okay? Pull back. Ward, don't overcommit. Anyway. The President's Day excuse for a tiny patch is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, just delay the patch by 1 day. I mean, it really was stupid. Tiny patch, right? Now we have a month since the last major patch, and even this one is not going to be, it's going to be big, but it's not as big and meaty as you would expect. So these small changes are not good, and they tried this a few years ago, where they would do a big patch, small patch, big patch, small patch, and everyone hated the small patch. You know, like, just deal with issues. Yeah, we can take time to figure out solutions, like, you know, like, these Warwick builds can come out, and these funny playstyles can come out, but most of the time, jungle's been the same for a year, so I would like some changes a bit more aggressively to our problem areas, but that's more just a general point of view, just something that's been on my mind. I've not enjoyed the real slowness of the preseason and the early season. I hope they fix it, and I hope our Void event and our Void jungler is perfect. Otherwise, for the Wick, for Mr. Vic, I love this champion. Definitely one of the freest in terms of itemization choice. I wonder if they're duo and he's just kind of trolling him. Hook hits, traps placed, cats meowed. Now we don't have any inhibs, and again, now we're in the situation where waves are not in the best position because no one pays attention to side waves. Kha'Zix is seen, Kha'Zix is seen, Kha'Zix is seen. So if I see a Kha'Zix, or someone tried to split up here, okay, there we go. Cut them off, it's very, very good here. Because the biggest problem is obviously the Kha'Zix accessing the backline. There's no tower, so you can threaten. This is good. Good flank. Tryndamere now goes really deep. Draven ult doesn't really make a difference. Warwick ult there. Perfection. As they drew it up in the game room, whiteboard room, locker room thing. Triple kill, baby. You saw the lunge, right? I hate that so much. You're just moving so quickly because everyone's so low. You just press it and you fly. Really, we need a Space Jam thematic for it. Yeah, let's go and slap this, because obviously when you're running Kraken Titanic or Bork or any sort of thing with AD and attack speed, you can actually take structures a lot more purposefully. Kha'Zix gets exhausted and then has to yeet himself in the other direction, goes back into a Soraka with a silence because he's tilted, because he was out jungled, because he had a bad start and he could do nothing about it. Cats wants more work. Again, as you see, the game doesn't end here. They're really brute forcing this, but in a low elo game, I can see how this would cause a loss for your team. We ult in. Okay, we still have Zhonya's activated. Again, E's just for damage reduction here, but we're going to get pulled in. We want to be very cautious. Okay, we take a second inhib. Let's now consider leaving, I think. The Warwick has the right idea. Let's go. Leave. Leave. They can keep spending gold and getting fed, and we're running lower on resources. Maybe actually we could have, but I still think like Soraka's, you know what I mean? This is the Canyon moment. I'm only saying this because we've discussed this very, very frequently recently with the Canyon games, where it was exactly the same situation and Canyon tried to stay and they just end up losing. Bad things happen, you know? So that's what we want to pay attention to. And this is what you're trying to avoid. Like, the Warwick just wants to leave. Because now you've taken 3 inhibs, you've got a lot of gold in pocket, your ADC's got 3.5k, just go spend it, right? And then come back. But in the event that they can regenerate themselves a little bit, And you don't really need to base because you'll have your 3-item spike, then you can just take their jungle camps. Kha'Zix is seen. Always. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Always hold that key. Tricksy Hobbit. Back to base. Zillion's still here. Well, TP still here by, you know, via teleportation spell. Trindamir dies on the bottom side of the thresh. We're not going to look at that because we're busy ulting a Karma. We want to make sure she dies. Thank you very much. We snacked that. And bot lane will rejoin us. So, yeah, maybe we could have actually tried to end. But, you know, I tend to be, with jinxes and things like this, nice again, I tend to be just a little bit more, because there's no downside, right? You can take 3 inhibs, you can fall back, you can reset as a team, you can spend your gold, and you just run it down because you got 3 inhibs down. There's really no risk in that sense. But obviously, if they overcommit chasing you out and you're able to get picks back and you can just close in like the Warwick did, do so. A little bit messy of an ending, and obviously Jinx had a rough time at the beginning, mentally, socially, physically, in any sort of way. She was not doing well, but they came back a little bit, obviously because of throws, and the game was never really in doubt. The game was never really in doubt, but you could see very much how in a low elo game, it might be, right? You could see how very much in a low elo game, some of you would throw games, not because of you necessarily, but because of your team. So keep the fundamentals in your mind. A little bit of a loose, fun gameplay, I think, with a fun build. Discussing all the viable options. Let me know what you think of Camp Tank Bork. I think it's fine. I think it's viable for sure. I just don't personally enjoy playing it. And the Zhonya's is always something fun to play. But typically you can go tank or Titanic as you wish. There you go. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed and learned something. And as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.